It's 10 a.m., so I'm going to call the meeting to order this morning of the Benton-Franklin Council of Governments. We've got a new agenda to try today, and I'm really excited about it because I think we're all going to have an opportunity to learn all about each other and what this organization really means to all of us. And I would like to start the meeting with this statement, which I'll be using at every meeting. The Benton-Franklin Council of Governments was established by a volunteer or association of the local units of government in 1966 with the vision of providing a forum for improved communication, multi-jurisdictional decision-making, regional planning, and the capacity to serve as lead agency in providing multi-jurisdictional programs. Services provided to the member jurisdictions are outlined by interlocal agreement and can evolve with the needs of the region. Benton-Franklin Council of Governments currently fulfills the following designations on behalf of the Benton-Franklin region: the Regional Planning Commission, Conference of Governments, the Regional Transportation Planning Organization, the Metropolitan Planning Organization and Transportation Management Area, and the Economic Development District. The Benton-Franklin Council of Governments Board of Directors simultaneously serves as the governing body for the Benton-Franklin Council of Governments, the Benton-Franklin Metropolitan Planning Organization Transportation Policy Board, the Benton-Franklin Walla Walla Regional Transportation Planning Organization, and the Benton-Franklin Economic Development District. We share this information at the beginning of each board meeting to provide context to the information shared and the actions taken at each meeting. So, thank you. Roll call.
Ben-Franklin Transit. Benton County.
Will McKay.
City of Benton City.
He's here. Yeah. If you want.
City of Connell. City of Kennewick.
Rental property here.
City of Pasco.
Yes, he is here.
City of Prosser.
Here, Maricela Sanchez.
Richland.
She's there.
City of West Richland. She just joined.
If you didn't hear, Benton City's here.
Thank you, Mayor Burton. Franklin County.
Clint Didier.
Port of Benton.
Roy Kerr.
Port of Kennewick.
Skip Novakovich.
Port of Pasco.
Vicki Gordon.
And Washtenaw. Thank you.
We have quorum. Very good. At this point, we have several new members of the board, and I think they'll be highlighted in Michelle's report. We move to approve the agenda.
So Madam Chair, I move to approve the agenda as presented.
Thank you, Skip and Roy.
I'll second
for you. It's been moved and seconded to approve the agenda today. All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. This is the time for public comment. Does anyone have any comments for the good of the order this morning? Okay. Not hearing anyone, we'll move on. Okay, this is the first part of our changed agenda that we're instituting today. The member planning update, and Brian White with WashDOT is our first initial presenter. So Brian, thank you.
Our set really low. So I'm Brian White. I see he has 10 minutes, might take a little longer, so that's okay.
And you just press the clicker there and it should take you forward.
I'll do it.
One more.
Oh, one more? Okay.
There you
There
go.
we go. That's my introduction slide. So I'm the regional administrator for South Central Region. That's highlighted in blue. You can see there's a total of 6 regions. My region starts at North Bend. We go over Snoqualmie Pass. We have the Clayholme, Ellensburg area. We go through Yakima, then through the Tri-Cities. Of course, this being our largest metropolitan area we work with. We have the Walla Walla area, and then we go all the way to Clarkston. So Idaho and Oregon on projects together. Just a little interesting fact, South Central Region works with the most MPOs of any region in the state. So we have 5 different MPOs. So what some of the stuff that we've been working on phase 7 down on US 12 in the Walla Walla area. That project is now complete. We did a ribbon cutting last year. So we have one more phase left. That's phase 8. And it's of course the most expensive phase. Port of Walla Walla is working with the federal delegation to see if they can round up some money for that. But we do have money. I have enough funding to start the design work and the right-of-way phase. So that's what my team's working on right now. Local project that'll probably be starting up next week is the US 395 Blue Bridge Painter. First stage a couple of years ago. Now we're going to be doing the top part of that bridge this year. So. Of course, one of our big mega projects that we've been working on, and I've worked on for a long time, is the I-90 Snoqualmie Pass East improvements. It's a 15-mile corridor. We're about halfway done about 7.5 miles. We are currently working on phase 3 here, which starts at the end of phase 2A. And we skipped a section and wanted to work on this section here. It's very critical. Just shows some work that they were doing last year, putting some bridge abutments in. And then one of the big things is we're moving all the alignment to one side of the roadway, so there will no longer be a split when we come out of Easton. They'll all be on the will be the eastbound side before. This allows our contractor to work not under traffic, which is a real bonus for them, and allows them to do a lot of work. And it just shows them working on that section. There's a big wall in this section. That's kind of the big feature in this project. And so that's what they're starting on now. Of course, if you haven't heard yet, we're going to be working on the Vantage Bridge, and we've awarded a contract to Garco. And this project, this bridge was built in '62. It had its last major rehab in 1982. And you can see here that the deck is pretty much falling apart. This is my region-wide bridge crew, and they spend most of their time in Vantage there doing repairs. If you see that one with the tape measure, what you're looking at is a hole right through the deck, and you're looking at the Columbia River. So we hope to start that project up this year. Well, we are starting it up this year, and will last about 3 years. Most recently, all the potholes like to show up about Friday or Saturday. They like to time it that way. This was our last big closure on January 27th, and you can kind of see the hole there. So one of the issues, this bridge is very finicky on how you load and unload it. And so we kind of have to kind of stage it to do one side or the other and work our way down the bridge. And so this is just kind of showing a typical section of what we'll be doing. We'll be closing one of the eastbound, one of the westbound lanes, and then putting traffic onto one side to allow the contractor to work on the other side. So a lot of concerns have come up that we're still working through about fire life safety. If you ever kind of pay attention in that area, someone usually sets that area on fire at least once a year, but more like 3 or 4 times. And so there's a lot of concerns with the fire department on how they will be able to access both sides of the river. And so we're kind of working with them. We're doing some more vegetation management in that area to try and keep the weeds down. And we're also looking at an idea of bringing in sheep to graze the area. So we'll see how that works. Work zone safety has been a big part of my world because I was originally the construction engineer. And we're just seeing, whether it's maintenance or my construction work zones, people going too fast in the work zones. This was a crew that was working, I think it was on 97, daylight hours, as you can see, and just hit our impact attenuator. Luckily, no one was hurt, but you can see what happened to the driver. This is up on I-90. This is kind of called the centipede accident, where we had 3 or 4 cars hit each other. Luckily, no one was seriously hurt, but it just illustrates these issues that we're seeing on the roadway. I was part of the WashDOT WAPA, which is a Washington Asphalt Paving Association work group for safety in work zones. And we've been working very closely with the legislative folks. And last year in the leg session, they approved to use work zone cameras again, bringing those back mainly to work zones to try and drive slowly through our work zone. So we'll take a photo enforcement and take a picture, send it to the person with a, I believe it's not a speeding ticket, it's a different type of infraction, so it won't go on people's records, but it still provides a ticket.
I have a comment on that, because I was just talking with the chief yesterday about these for different situations, but apparently, because it's so hard to enforce who's actually driving it and going on your record, it becomes like a parking ticket.
Yeah.
That you would get a parking
Right.
ticket sent to you, whoever the owner of the vehicle is.
Right,
Sorry.
yeah, and some of that was for equity, to make sure that, you know, it impacts lower income families more than it does higher income families. So that's part of the reason they want to make it more like a parking ticket. And so this is a fundraiser for WashDOT or WSP. It's really the money that will be collected, we go back into education for people and zero, so. So we're ending the snow and ice season. I know down here it's nice and beautiful. I got 4 inches of snow yesterday up in Yakima, so winter's kind of crept back in, but always on the passes is what we deal with a lot of the time. Construction's kind of shut down, and so we deal with road closures, and we're just seeing a lot of trucks turning over on the pass, and so just something we're dealing with. White Pass, we usually don't see a lot of issues, but we had a lot of slides this year that closed White Pass. In fact, at one point, all 3 passes were closed this year. So just something we have to deal with every year. And my maintenance engineer called me up Monday and said, you know, it's been pretty quiet on the passes and, you know, everything's been going really good. And I said, yeah, I know. It seems like it's time for something to happen. He said, well, we found this on Monday. And so this is on I-82. And my communication team wanted to call it a sinkhole. And I said, no, we're not calling it a sinkhole, but that didn't happen. So there's a lot of the reports are talking about the sinkhole, but it's not a sinkhole. There's 2 large culverts that run under our roadway system. They're a wasteway for Rosa irrigation. So if they have to shut down the irrigation system, they can flush all their water to the Yakima River and do whatever repairs. They also use this to flush out any material at the beginning of the season. So they're 2 pipes. They were built in the 60s, so they're over their lifespan. And what we've been working on uncovering the pipes, and it appears that they've rusted out, and it's time for new pipes. It just collapsed on itself. So the river's right on the other side of the guardrail there, and so it was inundating that as well. And so it appears wherever it initially cracked, it undermined the pipe, and that's what's dropping it. Yes, it's by Zilla, actually. So this was the eastbound lanes. That's what we closed, was the eastbound lanes. And now yesterday is one of the first order of works. Once we got our emergency contractor out there, was to look at the westbound and confirm that was okay. And that pipe is rotted as well. And so this morning we implemented closing the westbound lanes as well. So traffic right now is either detouring on a couple of different, there's some state routes, 223 and US 97 and SR 22 that people are detouring on. We also got an agreement with Yakima County to put people on the old Yakima Valley Highway. So either way, you can still get around. We have decided one of our first orders of work, since we only have a 30-day contract. The reason we have 30 days is we've selected a contractor. This allows us to not have to go out for a procurement process. So we're going to try and get the westbound lanes rebuilt and get traffic onto those lanes, so we can have a lane in each direction, so we can get people off the county road and some of the other highways. And then we'll come back with a new secondary contract that will go out for a competitive process that will look at replacing both of these culverts, so.
That's what I can say, cool to me.
Yep. So, I just finally got some drone photos, so maybe after the meeting, if you want to kind of see, it kind of gives you a better picture, and you can really see that it's not a sinkhole. So, this is my contact information, please feel free to, get a hold of me if you got any questions, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
We have any other locations like this, or it might be a risk?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So, as we started looking, we went and looked at our agreement. The agreement for this crossing location covers about, I think, 15 miles in the lower valley there. And there's about another 20 pipes, that cross over the way. We have culverts, one we dealt with a couple of years ago in Zilla, where it really wasn't for irrigation, but that's where the wastewater was going, and it was going to the river, and it rusted out and collapsed. So we have multiple locations. You know, I kind of talk about the preservation story, and I think a lot of people think about the roadway itself and just say, well, you know, concrete roadway looks good. But there's a whole other issue of these culverts that were built 50, 60 years ago that are coming to the end of their life. Same with all the interstate bridges were all built about the same time. And so we're trying to maintain those as we go through and replace them.
A
So,
lot of these culverts are being replaced now for salmon
yeah.
application.
Yeah, so you probably heard about Fish Passage, and, you know, and there was a lawsuit, which now WashDOT is using a lot of its resources to replace culverts on the west side of the mountains, not so much on the east side, but for salmon rearing habitats.
So I have a question about our Blue Bridge
Mhm.
and our bridges around here. So is there any sort of status? I mean, I know we're going to be painting it.
Painting it. Mhm.
Is that what's
And,
there?
yeah, and so I mean, that's all well and good, but I think, I'm just concerned about, is it on the radar for the dangers that it already kind of poses coming in and out, and it's already overused, the Amazon warehouse is going to be starting back up, but once that gets shut down, we're going to really feel the pains of it around here, and that's just for painting,
Mhm.
and I don't know how important painting is in terms of deferring maintenance on this, but it's a lot of money, and I think maybe there's some better uses, or at least I'd like to know if it's at least on the radar before we have poles dropping out, so you can see the river below. I mean, I don't know what
So how does
Prioritization.
how does the
Yeah.
prioritization and programming work? Because, you know, there's people in Waitsburg that would like their bridge replaced and would like us not to paint this bridge. And so it's a kind of a delicate balance. And I think there's this impression that WashDOT has control over their budget, and we don't. You know, we're government, we're a cabinet agency, serve for the governor, and then the legislature's really been the direction for a lot of our funding over the last few years and putting packages in place. And so like this current session, the WashDOT said what we need for that Fish Passage program, how much we need to continue work in progress. The governor did not put enough money to continue that work in progress. Will the legislature now put that money in place? I don't know. So we're trying to decide what happens if that money doesn't come. And so as far as like bridges, we do have a prioritized program for all those bridges. And it just depends on how much money they put in that preservation bucket for us to spend. And usually it's not enough to go down and start, you know, doing bridge deck repairs, let alone replacements.
So who decides painting versus something else?
Yeah, so that's part of a sub-program of it, and that's very critical for the bridges to be painted. It's not really this nice, you know, yeah, it looks better, but it really keeps the rust off it. And the whole structural integrity of that bridge is on that steel truss. So, and so you may have, if you've been driving around, I don't think we got down here, but we were up in the Yakima and Cle Elum area. We had contracts the last couple of years that basically went into a bridge and just fixed the potholes. And so as you drive across, you see all these patches. That's one technique we're just using to hold that bridge together until we get some funding to do a bridge deck overlay, which would give you a nice smooth deck. So it really comes down to, you know, how much money the legislature puts into that bucket. And I think it's very confusing right now that we've had a couple of recent gas tax increases. And if you hear, and if you hear our Secretary of Transportation, he'll say, we have the biggest highway construction program we've ever had, and we do. But it's all for these, what I call Christmas tree projects, which all legislative folks love. New interchanges, new bridges across between Portland and Vancouver. Not saying they aren't important, but when you look at the grand scheme of things, like you're saying, where is the best way to spend that money? And so we try to put it in our budget where we think it is. Preservation is really key to me. Maybe not so much on the interstate, but on some of our rural routes that a lot of our commodities travel over. And we're hoping to get a couple chip seal projects this year to just hold those roads together until we can do a asphalt overlay on it.
Do you have any idea of the current status of our Blue Bridge in particular in terms of, maintenance or long-term, you know?
I don't know right on that.
Yeah, it's lifespan.
Traditionally, bridges last about 50 years, but when you do those deck overlays, you can extend that lifespan. But that's just holding the roadway together, right? So if you have additional development in the area and you have capacity issues, that's a different story.
We already do.
Yeah.
Well, that's been there well over 50 years,
Yeah,
over the
yeah,
bridge, but. And then, in terms of if we were wanting to see something else happen, even just maintenance or if it needed to be expanded or something, I mean, who does those stories? Who spearheads those?
So a lot of times it's working with BFCOG. They kind of just get that story out. And, you know, when someone comes to me and says, hey, we want to do interchange, how do we make that happen? Talk to your local legislature, and they're the ones that really try.
Because cities, it's, you know, I mean, we don't really have any regional, we couldn't even band together and put money together to do it. It has to come through state and or federal funds.
Right. And, you know, some of the things that we're doing now is trying to get into those RAISE grants, which is a federal funding program, really key to safety in underserved communities. So we're submitting 2 this year. One is in the Plain Elm area for a weigh station port entry, and another one is in Toppenish on US 97, where they've had a lot of fatalities around 97 and SR 22 right there in Toppenish, if you've ever been in there. Over the last few years, we were fortunate in getting some funding from the legislature to look at safety along US 97, basically from Union Gap to Toppenish, and we've been putting roundabouts at those key intersections that prioritize. We just can't get the funding to do these other 2 up at LaRue Road, where we've had 8 fatalities in the last couple of years, and SR 22 and US 97. So we're going to put in experience if we can get that.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Brian. Anyone else have any comments or questions? Well, thank you for being the first presenter.
Like I said, it's nice to go
You
in the
did
bars.
great. Thank you. The bar has been set.
Kate raised her hand.
Oh, Kate Moran has a question.
Hi, yes, Brian, I'm wondering, have you heard much about how cities are now able to petition for sections of road where WashDOT is in charge of them to come under the cities? I'm not wording it right. I'm sorry. I was at the Association of Washington Cities City Action Day, and one of them mentioned about that, and another one had mentioned about roundabouts on highways where they were actually able to use that space and grow grapes and actually produce their own wine. I think they call it Roundabout Red. I'm just curious if you've heard about that and what your thoughts are about that locally.
Yeah, so we actually are kind of doing that right now with the city of West Richland. There was this project called the Red Mountain Interchange Project that a lot of us had worked on for years to work with federal highways to get a new interchange out by Benton City and I-82. And really we weren't getting anywhere with federal highways. They really want to protect their access. And so we had a thought, and we met with the city of West Richland, we met with some of the partners, and this was the Todd Tripper, the former regional administrator for this area. And we went down and said, what if we give you all the money? What would you do with it? And at first they're like, no, we want the interchange. And so then they thought about it, and I think it was just kind of lined up with some other timing with all the development that's planned to happen out on West Richland. And they decided, we'll take the money and we'll do improvements on SR 224. So right now, City of West Richland is doing that design work, and they're working with us. I've done several of these projects, and it's always a learning curve. We have a lot of standards, and we have a lot of things guidelines that we have to follow, especially with federal funding. And I don't think cities and counties necessarily, when they don't have federal funding, have to follow all those guidelines. And so I think it's always kind of this question, not question, but we kind of come to loggerheads of why do we have to do this? Why do we have to have this study? Why do we got to do this? And it's all to meet our process. And usually the cities and counties do the AASHTO standards, where we are more higher standards even on our rural roads. And so I think it's just a learning curve to understand that better. When you take on that role, that there's going to be a higher level of design that you probably have to do than maybe you have to do on some of your local projects. As far as growing grapes in a roundabout, either that's a huge roundabout or they don't produce much.
How many plants?
On my weekends, I work for an orchard in Sela, a colossal orchard, which is just a pear, cherry, chestnut orchard. And so kind of have a little idea of what things can produce, and that's interesting. They do that in a roundabout. Of course, my concern would be people trying to access the roundabout to take care of the grapes as well. So, usually we try to work with the community, if it's in their community, to do some kind of art plan and some kind of art that they can place in there doesn't cause a safety issue. So I think we've been on Queensgate, we worked with the city up there with that. Some stuff in there, and then in Yakima we did some artwork in the Union Gap roundabout. On the 97 roundabouts, we put in a wall and some assault columns, because that's what the Yakima Nation wanted. Unfortunately, we found out is people wanted to hit those columns, and they really tried to hit them, and so we ended up taking them out. But we were looking at some other options for some artwork there.
Interesting. All
Gotcha,
right.
thank you. And so actually, I'm one of the West Richland City Council members, so I'm familiar with the West Richland and WashDOT for the SR. But just for others, if they wanted to look up, the grapes that I'm talking about are in Ridgefield, Washington. And if you look on the city's site, they talk about their roundabout grapes and wine, and about how the city is actually able to harvest and bottle them. I don't believe that they can sell them, but they do use them for community celebrations, business grand openings, and annual farm to table dinners. Just things to put in people's heads, and another way of me also trying to beat the drum and ask people, please participate with us at the Association of Washington Cities events, because we get a lot of sharing between cities, and the COG is great for that. AWC is also really good for that. But thank you very much, Brian.
Any other comments?
Yeah, a question. This is Maricela from Prosser. Question somewhat related to that as well. I was wondering if you could speak to the ability of cities to reduce or modify speed limits on state highways that run within city limits.
So we've had requests to reduce speed limits, and they usually go to our traffic engineer, and they look at the data to see if there's an issue. That's every time, like we started having issues when we had issues out on 97 when we put in the first roundabout, everyone wanted to drop the speed limit. Everyone wanted to put in more signs. And so, our approach is always to make some improvements, see how it works, and if we need to adjust it, we do. But putting in more signs, people just ignore those after a while. And then unless there's enforcement for speed limits, we can put every speed limit we want. Even on the way down here, it's 70 miles an hour on the interstate, and I must have been the only one driving 70 miles an hour. No one was passing me. And so they always look at, is there some kind of constriction that will naturally slow the people down so that it matches the speed limit. So sometimes when you're driving through a work zone, you have that narrow concrete barrier, so people do slow down. I think you had a follow-up question.
Yeah, that, referring to the street calming measures, yes, I agree very much about the signs. I think signs are ineffective for speed limits if they're not also accompanied by actual physical street calming measures. So that is something that WASDOT would be able to assist with if the city could demonstrate a need for increased safety within city limits.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Very good. Okay, in the interest of time, I think I'm gonna cut it off here. We were, this was 10 minutes
Yeah, I
plus
know.
5 minutes.
That's all
Two
that-
and a half an hour. So
I know.
of course. Thank you so much. And here's Brian's contact information again. So if you do have a question, be sure to make a note of that. All right, let's move on to the board education update. Aaron has 5 facts about regional bicycle plan for this update.
Yes, thank you. I will, in a matter of time, I will try to be as quick as possible. So this is about the regional bicycle plan. Just a quick heads up, you probably haven't heard this name from the Council of Governments, and I will be going over why. Just a quick statistic, some stats going back to my last presentation to the board in December. So over the next 20 years, our region, Benton-Franklin County, will add 145,000 new people, 55,000 new jobs, 22,000 new vehicles, and 45,000 new homes. Those are the middle projections. So keeping that in mind, moving forward into talking about the regional bike plan. So this was the closest photo I could find over looking on my phone of a bike, biking in urban Richland. This is Edgar, who's currently in my office. So why have you not heard this name before for the regional bike plan? So we've done the regional active transportation plan here at the Council of Governments. There was one done in 2016, or excuse me, 2012, 2016, and 2020. It has been proposed and supported by the TAC to split the active transportation plan into 2 documents now. So that would be the regional bicycle plan and the regional pedestrian plan. I'm going to go over why we're going in that direction, but this is illustrating the need for that. So it would be at a high level looking at the region and establishing a regional bicycle network and a regional pedestrian network in those 2 different plans. So what is the regional bicycle plan? It is a vision for enhancing bicycle opportunities for all residents of the Tri-Cities region. So as we know, we have a unique geography. We have 3 rivers that convalesce right here in the urban core of Benton-Franklin County. We have Badger Mountain, we have Rattlesnake Mountain. We have a lot of different things that present physical barriers, not to mention, say, the built environment that presents barriers as well. So why is this needed? So the bicycle plan builds on and advances goals outlined in our Metropolitan Transportation Plan, which is our holy grail of plans here at the COG. So within that is our federally and state required plan. We have to do some active transportation planning. We can do it within that, or we can spread it out and do it in a different year, and it gets moved into that plan. So that's what this is. We've done the active transportation plan in the past. Now we're doing the regional bicycle plan and the ped plan. So within the bike plan, we'll be identifying areas of highest return of improvement for local jurisdictions and assisting local jurisdictions to receive funding for projects. So elaborating on that would be if there is, I'll use the city of Kennewick for an example. So say the city of Kennewick has a project that is filling in a gap on the regional bike network. It becomes much more attractive if it's filling in the gap for the regional bike network and the regional pedestrian network at the same time, rather than just the singular network of the regional active transportation.
More attractive too, I'm sorry.
Filling out grant applications, so like Raise, Tiger, Safe Routes to School, Safe Streets for All. So it's and it's doing a much more regional analysis and higher outreach efforts. So in March, we'll be holding a kickoff series in Kennewick, Pasco, and Richland, March 19th, 20th, and 21st to kick off the regional bike plan. So this map on the right side, you can just notice the text is hard to read, but you can notice where the black lines are. So these are identified bicycle routes from historic bike plans done in the Tri-Cities. So Richland's last bicycle plan was done in 2005. Kennewick has not done a dedicated bike plan. However, they've had a citywide transportation plan that was done in 2018, and their roads were based off of the roads that were given bicycle priority. Pasco's are based off the Bicycle and Pedestrian Master Plan from 2011, and all of these roads were indicated as key routes. So just keep that in mind going forward. It'll be the same map with different features. So expected outcomes of this would be adopting a regional bicycle network, providing resources for local jurisdictions, identification of barriers and how local jurisdictions can, address these barriers with strategies, coming up with regional collaboration, so how we can move together to address like the Island View to Vista Field, getting over 240 and how we can make that a joint effort, and of course, update of the bicycle map, our hottest commodity. So looking at the map on the right now, so these are identified bicycle facilities within the region laid on top of those black lines. So for simplistic, green is pathways, so the pathways that run along the river. Purple is bike lanes, and then orange is paved shoulder. So paved shoulder would be like what's outside our office right here on Stevens. It has the space to be a bike lane. However, it is not signed or stenciled. So you can see that also in Kennewick. Kennewick has a lot of paved shoulders. They're just not signed or stenciled to be a bike lane based upon NACDO standards and what was adopted in our last active transportation plan. So this is highlighting where there are the pathways and bike lanes without the paved shoulders. So as there's been these historical planning efforts from 2005, 2011, and 2018, we're making progress in our region in putting in these facilities to accommodate all of that massive growth that we will be having. If we have all of those 145,000 new people come into the region and are only moving around by vehicle, we will be experiencing much higher levels of congestion. So if we can possibly shift some of those trips to bicycling along our rivers or existing facilities, or where we can prioritize those investments going forward, that will be good for everybody. So what is the timeline of the regional bicycle plan? So we'll be holding our kickoff meetings in March. It'll be hopefully wrapping up in December. We'll be holding some stakeholder engagement meetings throughout the summer, and also attending farmers markets and asking for public input. And that is about it. Any questions on the regional bicycle plan?
Oh, here we go. Maricela?
Yeah, thank you. I was wondering if the regional bicycle plan prioritized schools within the area to allow for children to ride their bikes to schools.
That is a good question. We're currently developing a regional safe routes to school plan that dives into that more in depth. However, that will be looked at within the bike plan as well.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, thanks.
I have one.
Oh,
Do you think we can get any state help with maybe repaving the Columbia Park trails, working with the tribes? That would be great. You could focus on that. That'd be good for everyone. It would connect every Pasco, Richland, all of the trails. But everyone always tells me, well, we can't touch it because of the tribes.
I was told it was because of Army Corps, but
Well, it's the layers.
yeah,
They're both
But
involved.
we can look into that.
good.
Is this bike plan also gonna look at the speed of these bicycles with the electric bikes now on pathways?
Yeah. And Commissioner, that's a very good question. So as this is a first effort of its kind, if there are any specific points of interest that you would like us to be addressing or looking into, please let us know.
Safety speed on combined pathways and bicycle paths. Specifically, Howard Park. I mean, there's a very narrow pathway there, and you have 30-mile-an-hour electric bikes.
Yeah.
Good question. That was a good comment. Okay, any other comments or questions? All right. We're gonna move on to the consent agenda. We've got a voucher summary in the amount of $107,788.51. Approval of the minutes from last meeting on January 19th. And the loan balance report for the RLF.
Madam Chairman, I move approval of the consent agenda as presented.
Thank you,
This
Skip.
is Kate Moran, I second.
Thank you, Kate. It's been moved and seconded to accept the consent agenda as presented. All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. All right, reports. Aaron, you're on again.
Yes, I am. So we'll start with item 8A1, the Transportation Improvement Program, also known as the TIP obligation status. So this is a status update on how we are doing as a region, spending our money towards our obligation authority target, which is the set amount of money that we have to spend based upon surface transportation block grant funding, transportation alternative program funding, and carbon reduction program funding. So far, as of this year, we've had 2 projects obligate for just over 400,000, leaving our obligation authority target to be met at 3.42 million. At the TAC meeting, it was reported that we had 2 projects very close to obligation that would take us over the target of 3.42 million. So we'll be in good shape again this year for meeting our obligation target. Next item is 8A2, Metropolitan Transportation Plan. That is the MTP amendment update. So we're going through a amendment to Transition 2045. That's the guiding planning document for the entire region. It was updated in May of 2022. And we're having an amendment this year specifically to include all of the projects from jurisdictions that were not included in the 2022 update. Alex has been in communication with jurisdictions to get those projects implemented into the MTP. So we'll be hoping to have that amendment wrapped up in the summertime. We'll be holding an open house when that goes out for public comment. Last item for my update is the regional data hub. So we're currently in the process of developing a regional data hub that would be housing transportation, demographic, and economic data. Data formats will include interactive web maps, Excel spreadsheets, or tabular data as it's known on our website, GIS shapefiles. If there's any specific data or points of interest, such as e-bike speeds, that you'd like to have shown on our website or have available, please let us know. There are resources out there that shows data at the Benton-Franklin level, such as Benton-Franklin trends. We're not trying to recreate the wheel. We just want to have specific data that would be of value to our members and people that have come in contact with us. For example, putting all of our traffic count information up on our website. On our map, on the screen right here, this is the level of traffic stress. And that is, the star is where the Council of Governments office is. The level of traffic stress is just a way to quantify how stressed an individual is walking or biking along a certain street based upon different metrics.
All right. Any questions for Aaron? All right, let's move along. Zach is going to present.
Yes, thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. Just our economic development district update. Included in your packet is our first annual performance report for the Community Economic Development Strategy, or the CEDS. This was produced by staff, and it really just encompasses a rundown of.
Go back a slide.
There you go.
That's my little title slide, though. Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, so it encompasses a rundown of our goals and objectives that were incorporated in the original CEDS document in 2021. And it's essentially a check the box, a very basic overview of the items and activities and processes that the COG undertook to really try to accomplish those goals. Because we had some transition in staff, and this is also our first year of issuing that document, it is a very basic report. We'll be working with our EDAC committee, which is our next item to discuss, to further flourish out those goals and provide more specific project updates in subsequent years. We will be making improvements in 2024, and it outlines our goals as well. So if anyone had a chance to review that document, I'll take any questions if there's any. All right, we'll move on to item B, which is our Economic Development District Advisory Council appointments. This is an advisory board that was changed when we redid our bylaws earlier this year, or earlier last year. This board will be tasked with providing advisory recommendations and advice on how the EDD can lead a locally based but regionally driven economic development planning process. This committee also looks to provide more active participation from the private sector, as well as public officials, nonprofit organizations, and educational institutions and private citizens. This will serve as an advisory committee, really creating and upholding the vision, goals, and objectives of the plan, but it'll also be our primary SEDS advisory committee as well. So we've started our recruitment and appointments. We have our first 9 members, as you can see listed on the slide and within your staff report, for appointment, which is an action item later on in the agenda. Our plan with the EDAC committee is to meet at least quarterly, kicking off with sort of an introductory meeting to new members on what we are all about at the COG, as well as the SEDS document, and setting some goals and processes and meeting dates for the coming year, for this year. So our list is above. Our first 9 members encompass everything from arts and culture, clean energy, construction industry, outdoor rec. We do have some government and ports. And ADOs are your associated development organizations such as TRIDEC. In this case, we have a representative from the Prosser Economic Development Authority as well. We will be extending invitations to other sectors of the economy listed on our bylaws. That includes everything from advanced manufacturing, agriculture, commercial lending, food processing, freight distribution, healthcare, higher ed, kindergarten through 12th grade education, labor, minority-owned business, real estate, small business, nonprofit social services, utilities, and workforce development. So, like I said, we're looking to have a very robust view of all of our economic sectors as we go through our process of recruitment. But our first 9 members will get us started on our goals and objectives for 2024. I'll take any questions.
Looks like a good group.
Yeah, we're looking forward to working with everyone. All right, we will move on to the local government programs update. Our ARPA program, as coordinated through Benton and Franklin counties, continues as a primary focus of the COG in the economic development local government side of things. In January, we hosted 2 meetings with Franklin County's new government affairs staff to discuss our programs with the COG. Any issues, projects, or partnerships in 2024 that they want to embark upon, and provide guidance on collaboration with federal and state elected officials. In the Benton County side of things, we did our report on January 30th. Our 2023 ARPA annual report, we provided that to the Benton County commissioners. We did that earlier in the month with Franklin County commissioners, and just went through our specific actions in 2023, as well as programs conducted in accordance with our memorandum of understanding with that county. That was a well-received meeting, and we got some good tasks to focus on for the coming year. Any questions on ARPA? Okay, don't see any virtual hands raised either. Moving on to item B, our funding opportunities and grant programs. We are still waiting word from Commerce on the Securing Federal Funding Initiative. You recall from the last couple of months, we submitted for an $85,000 grant to offset the costs for hiring a grant writer and administrator for the COG, but also to act as a grant writer as part of our technical assistance program for our communities and member jurisdictions. So we are still waiting on that delayed response from Commerce. However, the legislative capital budget was released yesterday. The initial budget was released yesterday in Olympia, so we figured Commerce has been pretty busy working with the governor's office, Senate, and House on that as well. So we will still wait on that, and as soon as we have word, we will let everyone know. We did receive some notice of funding opportunities from Senator Murray's office in the past month and passed those on to our team and to the commissioners as well. There was an air pollution, the relevant ones that we want to highlight, there was an air pollution in schools, so an internal facilities grant from the EPA. We forwarded that on to our K-12 partners and any facilities maintenance teams in our membership that could possibly benefit from that. The reintroduction, it's an annual introduction and a prevailing program through the U.S. Department of Agriculture for Rural Development. The 2024 cycle launched, so that was primarily focused on a lot of our smaller population communities in Benton and Franklin County. Information on that program was forwarded on to membership for their consideration. And the Bridge Investment Program, which a lot of our public works folks know about through the Department of Transportation, just providing funding for bridge replacement, rehabilitation, preservation, and protection projects. That information was forwarded on to our membership body as well. Any questions on that? All right, and finally, just in the name of technical assistance and support we provided to our membership body, we met with City of Prosser, Franklin County, Port of Benton, Kennewick Public Facilities District, and City of Richland specifically, really just to discuss generalized cooperative projects, funding opportunities, and provide technical assistance when able. We also held our first new format congressional connection meeting on January 31st, where we had the staff for Senators Murray and Cantwell and Congressman Newhouse on hand here. 5 agencies participated in that. We talked a lot about the Congressional Direct Funding Program that's going to be introduced, sort of the earmark program that's back. That'll be introduced in March, and general projects for membership that attended the meeting, funding opportunities for new facilities, new infrastructure, utilities, and any current projects that are underway that have been supported through congressional direct funding or any federal programs as well. So it was a great meeting, good new format, lots of participation. We'll be looking to do our next meeting in March for that one as well. And we will open up those meeting slots to membership in the coming weeks. That's all for my update, unless there's any questions.
Thank you, Zach. Any questions for Zach? All right, Michelle, you're up.
All right. Well, quick kudos I'd like to give before I start my actual report. We had the transportation management area kickoff meeting. Yeah, was that yesterday? It feels like a week ago already. Yesterday. But the feedback from both the federal team and the WashDOT team was very, very complimentary of the work that the COG has been doing, the organization and level of information that was provided to start the process, even right down to compliments on changes to the website and readability. So definitely kudos to Aaron and his team for all the work that they've been doing. It was nice to hear all that positive feedback. The second is the Congressional Connections meeting. I had feedback from both the congressional staff and member jurisdictions that they appreciated that new format and how that worked and how efficient it was. So again, kudos to Zach for his work on that project also. So I've just got a couple of quick updates. One, of course, we have board member changes for 2024. We have new primary board members, Mayor Len Burton from the city of Benton City, Commissioner Clint Didier for Franklin County, Council Member Charles Grimm from the city of Pasco, Council Member Marcela Sanchez from city of Prosser, and Council Member Joanna Jones from city of Richland, who is a new primary board member, but has been serving as an alternate with us for the last year or so as well. And then our new alternate board members, Stephen Bauman from Franklin County and Peter Harpster from City of Pasco. So welcome to all of our new primary and alternate board members. We will have new board orientation on Friday, March 1st from 1 to 2:30. That will be a Zoom meeting and it will be recorded. So if you are not available at that time, you'll be able to watch that recording at your leisure at some other date, especially for those of you who've maybe been on the board and are just looking for a little refresher. We have had enough organizational adjustments and changes since our last orientation that there might be some good review information there. Kate, you've got a question?
Yeah, well, actually, just more of a note on here. I can't believe I didn't catch it when reading the packet, but just as a heads up, it's actually Maricela, so Maricela.
Thank you.
And I don't know if you're able to put the accent mark or not, but there's an accent over the A for her last name, Sanchez.
Perfect. All right, we will make those corrections and thank you for that.
Of course.
Just member annual dues assessments. All assessment payments have been received with the exception of one member. So we're doing great coming into the beginning of the year for that. And thank you all. But that's a wonderful help to the COG's cash flow at the beginning of the fiscal year. I had the opportunity last Friday night to speak at the Yakima Valley COG's Night of Celebration event. They hold an event. This is the second time they've held this event to celebrate the election or re-election of new officials in their Yakima County service area. There was roughly 26 new elected or re-elected officials and their guests, a wonderful semi-formal dinner, and speakers from partner agencies and member jurisdictions talking about partnering with their COG and provide other resources. One thing that the Yakima Valley COG does that's a little different than our COG is they have really positioned themselves as a resource to the elected officials specifically. And so some of the intent of this event and the information that was provided was to, for example, they received a color-coded card with multiple resources that might be beneficial to a new elected official with QR codes to help direct them to new information. Had a wonderful cheerleading speech from the mayor of Toppenish, who I had not had the chance to know before. And oh my gosh, she is just a spitfire, I think was Chris's word to describe her, but yes, just a really energetic, but so positive in her support for the work that their COG had done to support Toppenish as a city in multiple ways. And then of course the sheriff talking about the crime lab project that they've done. And my comments were specifically to just talk about councils of governments in general and noting the fact that there are 500 councils of governments in the United States. And if you look at them, other than being a tool to provide services to more than one jurisdiction who's come together to partner, they are absolutely unique based on their individual program designations or the needs of their communities. And so Yakima Valley COG and how they function and what they do doesn't look exactly like what our COG does. But I appreciate the invitation and opportunity to continue to partner with YV COG. Public Facilities District Administration. Of course, we administer the Benton County Public Facilities District and the Tri-City Regional Public Facilities District. Both have had quite a bit of activity in the last month. We received some questions from the State Board of Revenues, and then also had some questions from the board of the Benton County PFD about distribution of funds. And so that has prompted us to do some additional research to make sure we understand the authority and responsibilities well enough to make sure that all those answers are answered correctly. The regional PFD, we completed their auditor's audit for 2022, which is relatively simple given the fact that the only money in or out is just the cities paying the COG for our time to keep the regional PFD as a legal entity. They are not collecting any tax, nor are they supporting any projects at this time. And we are working on proposed revisions to their bylaws to further limit the expectations that are necessary for how much activity it requires to keep that entity in place should it be needed in the future. Before we go to action items, today is my 3-year anniversary with BFCOG. Erin, thank you. Erin asked me this morning, how do you feel about that? And I said, you know, some days it feels like I can't believe it's 3 years, and other days it feels like it's been 10 years, and I can't believe it's only been 3. But
That first year was 10 years.
that first year did feel like 10 years. It's true. But I am happy to be here and answer any questions if you have any. All right.
Congratulations.
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you. And all the changes are beneficial to all of us and our understanding of how important our COG is to us. Move on to action items. We have,
Yeah, so we just for clarification, this will be the first time we set our agenda up this way. But as Vicki mentioned at the beginning of the meeting, the COG serves multiple concurrent roles. So we've split up our action items to bring clarity to that. So we'll have action items split up under our MPO, our TPO responsibilities, our Economic Development District, or the Council of Governments. So the first action items on the agenda will be for our MPO, our TPO, and Tanner Martin.
Hello, good morning, everyone. So this is the February TIP amendments. Franklin County submitted 4 projects. They were awarded some highway safety improvement program funds. And yeah, we're just requesting approval of those projects to be added to the TIP and STIP.
any questions? I would entertain a motion.
This is Kate Moran. I move to approve the 2024 through 2027 TIP amendments, BFCOG Amendment 24-February as presented.
I'll second that.
Been moved and seconded to approve the 2024-2027 TIP amendments as presented. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
All right, this is an action item 9A2, Resolution 0124, supporting Washington State Department of Transportation's targets for safety performance measures. This is a annual action item that comes about the board about February of each month, showing Benton-Franklin Council of Government support for WashDOT in moving forward towards or planning towards those safety performance measures. Each MPO is given the opportunity to come up with our own safety performance measures that are part of the statewide goal. All MPOs have opted in to support WashDOTs and not come up with their own. So this is an action item saying that we support the Washington State Department of Transportation's safety performance measures as presented. In your packet, there is some additional information on our portion of the statewide performance measures and a overview pamphlet.
All right, any questions? Discussion? I would entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, I move approval of Resolution 01-24.
This is Kate Moran. I second.
Been moved and seconded to approve Resolution 01-24, support of the Washington State Department of Transportation targets for safety performance measures as presented. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next,
All right, so this action item is to request approval of the 2024 Regional Traffic Count Program contract with IDAX Data Solutions. We sent out a request for proposals towards the end of December, which closed January 22nd. And then on January 24th, we reviewed the proposals and decided that IDAX Data Solutions was the best fit. The contract will total a little below $105,000, which is $125 per count location. There are a total of 719 count locations. The urban counts will begin in March, end in May, and then rural counts will start in August and end in October.
okay, any questions, comments? Motion?
This is Kate Moran. I move to approve the contract with IDAX Data Solutions for BFCOG 2024 Regional Traffic Count Program as presented.
And I'll second that one.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, thank you. Motion carries. I think we're back to Zach.
This item is the action item for the appointments of the 2024 BFCOG Economic Development District Advisory Committee. These are our initial 9 members. We will be continuing recruitment and appointments through the year till we fill out our roster, but it's our first 9 members, and staff requests, board to weigh in on it.
Okay. Do I hear a motion?
Kate has her hand raised.
Kate?
I guess I'll make a motion first and then ask the question. I move to approve the appointment of 2024 BFCOG Economic Development Economic Development District Advisory Committee members as presented.
Okay, and you had a comment?
I'll wait until it's seconded and
I think Roy
Vanessa.
said. Roy kept his seconded it.
okay. Well, then my question is, I'm wondering how many total members are there going to be for the EDAC? I couldn't recall hearing that.
Yeah, let me make a quick count here.
It's gonna be a large group.
It's going to be a fairly large group. I can get that total number there. We need at least 8 to do a quorum if we are voting on something in an advisory manner to bring to the board. So this does bring us our quorum count. And really, we had some suggested industries and sectors as part of our bylaws, but we're looking to anyone that would really be helpful, whether it's on the basis of their industry or on the basis of just interest in regional economic development. So the bylaws did not call out a specific number of members, except for the 8 members to establish a quorum.
Right. That's what I thought I remembered. Is there any way that maybe you could just email me a list of what the BFCOG, or I guess to everybody if they want it, what exactly the staff is looking for this advisory committee and what number we're kind of targeting?
Yeah, I can definitely do that, including the sectors that have not been filled in, and extend the information to you or anyone you know. If you know someone in something like higher ed or advanced manufacturing in the industries, to send them my way for discussion and potential participation. So happy to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. I have a few folks in mind. I was thinking of letting them know about this. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to approve the appointment of the Economic Development District Advisory Committee members as presented. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Very good. That's a great start, I think.
Yep.
All right. Now we have resolution 02-24.
Okay. This resolution is to designate Aaron Bright as our second staff signer on our bank account. So this is just updating our signing authority. If you'll recall, those of you that were here in 2023, maybe the end of 2022. We had previously had the board chair and vice chair as signers on our accounts along with myself. It was determined that having elected officials as signers was not the best practice, and we shifted, and the resolution that the board approved previously specifically designated the Deputy Director of Operations role as the second signer. However, we don't have that role anymore. So we're updating this resolution to specifically name the MPO Deputy Director and Aaron Brage to be that second signer.
Okay.
This is Kate Moran, and I happily pass along the responsibility by moving to approve Resolution 02-24, designation of BFCOG bank accounts signing authority as presented.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Very good. Is there any new business to present? Anybody? All right, I think we have some time to move on to director updates. This is another new portion of our agenda where we have an opportunity for all the jurisdictions to share an update on what's going on that might have to do with our work here at COG. So, shall we start?
Sure.
At the top? Benton-Franklin Transit.
I don't believe we have.
I don't
Michelle
think
with
she's
us
here.
today.
I don't think she is. And Benton County, I don't think, is Michael here?
Commissioner McKay is online.
Oh, that's right. Commissioner McKay, do you have anything from Benton County to update us with?
Well, we're still working on those windmills of not getting them in, so that's kind of a big topic for us, still fighting to hopefully get them not going in, but that's pretty much on the Benton County side.
Okay, good, thank you. Len Burton from the city of Benton City.
I really don't have anything for you today. But
Okay,
I do have some emails I'll be sending your boss.
okay, good. Lee Barrow, is Lee with us? I don't think so. Okay. Gretel from the city of Kennewick. Any updates?
We are working on finding a new city manager, and we have interviews this coming month, so.
Good. Good luck.
Thank you.
City of Prosser. Marcella?
Hello there. Hi. We are looking to do a few street improvement projects around town with a focus on walkability. And we've also have a committee of citizens involved in helping to improve shade and tree canopy within the city of Prosser.
Very good, thank you. Joanna Jones from the city of Richland.
Nothing at this point. Thanks for asking.
You bet. Kate Moran, city of West Richland.
Thanks. So I actually just got back from Olympia from that Association of Washington Cities City Action Days. And I will say that I've been keeping an eye on a couple of these different bills that have been going through. One of them, for instance, is Senate Bill 5770, which is revising the property tax cap, allowing for local governments to increase up to 3%. It's not saying that it is being increased. It's just that it's allowing local governments to opt for that. Looks like it might be close to passing. And there are others that the Association of Washington Cities has on the hot sheet on their website if you want to take a look at that. But I also recommend folks look at Association of Washington Cities for other things. For instance, there's a GIS consortium that they have, and they also are involved and recommending folks get involved with the National League of Cities. They have, they're very similar to AWC, but on a national level, and they also have constituency groups, and they're always looking for members. And there is, of course, the AWC annual meeting that is coming up in, I believe it's June, and it's in Vancouver. I'll have to look at the dates to make certain, but I'm pretty sure it's June. And I recommend folks go to that. There's very few people representing the Tri-Cities in that. And I think it's really important because if we want to have our voice heard, that is a way that we can communicate with these state officials as a large group to really push for the changes we need at the state level so that we can get what we need at the local level. And I'm really hoping that more of you come out. If you got more questions, please feel free, email me. Yeah, I'd love to have you come out because we currently, at the last meeting, we only had 2 council members from Kennewick, Chuck Torelli and Jim Milbauer, and we had myself and the West Richland Mayor Pro Tem Fred Brink come out. Love to see more folks from the Tri-Cities come out. Like I said, email me if you want more info. That's all I got.
Thank you, Kate. City of Pasco, Charles Grimm.
Hi, good morning, everybody. Really just a lot going on in Pasco. We're coming up on the completion of the Big Lewis Street Overpass project pretty soon. And you probably saw in the news this week that Amazon looks like they're gonna open up one of their buildings finally, you know, and maybe repurpose it for kind of inbound, outbound. Our Sylvester Street, one of the main arterials of the city, we just approved funding for that to turn that into, you know, it's really going to help with traffic calming measures and kind of go towards some of that walkability and bikeability process there too. But anyways, just so many things going on. I think of the progress we're seeing out there at the Dairy Gold plant and so many other things, even in West Pasco with, you know, just the new aquatic center, and that's starting to go through the motions. So anyways, lots and lots happening in Pasco. Very excited to be a part of it.
Thank you, Charles. All right, Franklin County, Commissioner Didier, do you have anything to share?
Yes, yesterday I attended the Eastern Washington, I'm losing the name of the meeting I was at, but it was the Columbia Basin Sustainable Water Coalition. And there is a 1.8 million available for cities, drought preparedness, for getting ready and access to water. If anybody is running short on water, on the increase on the building that's going on, just wanted to know that you can look on the Department of Ecology, and that deadline is March 15th for you to put in for that. Other than that, looking forward to working with Charles Grimm and our new commissioner, Stephen Bauman. We are a lot of the good things, like Charles said, is happening in Franklin County. So just looking forward to being part of the Benton-Franklin Council of Governments also.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Commissioner, what was the name of that group again and the name of that opportunity?
Columbia Basin Sustainable Water Coalition. It's a new group that just formed, and I've been attending as they put this group together. We are trying to make sure that we have water available for the growth in our areas and for also the farming. We're trying to get the East High completed, with the water out of the Columbia. We were promised 3% of the Columbia flow. Currently, we're only using about 2.1 because of the water efficiency with the pivot irrigation. And so we're looking to try to create some more farm ground here, because as we lose it from the city growing, we need more areas to grow produce.
All right.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Port of Benton, Roy.
Port of Benton's got an aggressive construction program this year for the railroad and for the airport. And we're still in hot pursuit for federal and state funding to help us with that. So
Good.
we're gonna be busy this year.
Yes, that's good. Port of Kennewick, Skip Novakovich.
Well, Vista Field's got a lot of interest and you'll see a lot of things happening there, but a couple of things currently, Port of Kennewick just completed the state auditor's office audit and has 28 years of clean audits, which is quite an accomplishment. And then on March 12th, representatives from the governor's office will be here to present the Governor's Smart Community Smart Partnership Award to the Port of Kennewick at the Lighthouse Plaza.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Vicki.
Port of Pasco, American Airlines began their first ever flights out of the Tri-Cities Airport yesterday with daily flights to Phoenix Sky Harbor Airport. The flight is a 76 passenger regional jet that arrives in Pasco at 1:30 p.m. and departs at 3 p.m. We're hopeful that this is, if this route is successful, American will add flights to other destinations. The port is also closing on a land sale to Amazon.com for a new logistics center on Highway 395, just north of the new research plant out there. The 25-acre site will be used for a logistics center to provide faster delivery services in the Tri-Cities region and is expected to add 120 full-time jobs. Work on the new roads and water infrastructure to serve Darigold has wrapped up. The port is in final design for a new rail spur to serve the site that should begin construction this summer and be ready for Darigold's planned opening in early 2025. So that's what's happening at the port. Anyone else? I think we heard from Brian. You want to share anything else? We're glad you're here too. All right.
All
All I can hear is Arnold Schwarzenegger, it's not a same goal.
Very good. Well, I enjoyed hearing those updates and look forward to anything that people would like to share in our future meetings. Is there anything else that we need to talk about? All right, it's 11:22 and our meeting is adjourned.